Welcome. Today we explore the architecture of matter. We are mapping the complex ontological boundary where scientific truth meets the emergent nature of our world, and eventually, the philosophical reach into infinity. Matter serves as the foundational ground of all being. Whether you look at modern science or Deleuzian philosophy, materialism remains the bedrock. The core rift between these disciplines isn't about whether they are materialist, but rather how they choose to conceptualize the properties of matter itself. The fundamental divide in measuring reality lies between extensive and intensive properties. Extensive properties, like mass or volume, remain stable when divided. Intensive properties, however, are transformative. If you have the temperature or the velocity of a system, you don't just get a smaller version of the original, you fundamentally change the nature of the system itself. Reductive materialism focuses on the eternal and invariant. Rooted in classical mechanics, it assumes the whole is merely the sum of its parts. Yet, there is a paradox here, sometimes called idealistic materialism, because it often ignores physical reality in favor of pursuing universal, eternal laws, much like the Platonic elements Jacques Monod famously described. This brings us to the risk of epistemological overreach. When we take models from highly controlled domains like physics and force them onto biology or sociology, we often commit a grave error. As philosopher Lee Young-woo warns, this unreflective projection creates a false sense of unity where complex, different systems are forced into a reductive box. In contrast, non-reductive materialism embraces the engine of difference. Here, we include intensive properties like force and mind within our definition of materiality. This paradigm shift rejects fixed essences, viewing reality not as a static architecture, but as a dynamic system perpetually generating and transforming. We can distinguish between two types of science. Majoritarian science focuses on extensive mass and predictable causality, the realm of classical mechanics. Minoritarian science, however, explores intensive properties and contingent emergence, drawing from thermodynamics and complexity theory. As Deleuze noted, a science of intensities extracts a non-extensive system of numbers. This table summarizes the two paradigms. While reductive materialism relies on the philosophy of identity and linear causality, non-reductive materialism relies on the philosophy of difference, valuing reciprocal relations where the whole transforms into something fundamentally different from its parts. This matrix illustrates the frontier where measurement meets philosophy. Classical physics occupies the highly measurable, low molecularity zone. As we move into biology and complexity science, the predictability drops. Beyond that, virtual philosophy enters the realm of the unquantifiable, dealing with the intensities that science struggles to capture. Virtual philosophy conceptualizes the unquantifiable. It operates at the extreme limit where scientific measurement collapses. Its object of study is the intensive energy of non-organic forces, those energies that exist and act before they ever settle into organized, organic structures. There is a distinct difference between approaching a limit and entering the infinite. Intensive science approaches complexity as a limit, keeping it within measurable frameworks. Virtual philosophy, however, extends its horizon beyond these limits, attempting to capture the unrepresentable, completed infinity of matter. Borrowing from Spinoza, we arrive at expressive materialism. Here, matter is not dead weight or static mass. It is a continuously generative, expressive force, an ontology of difference, desire, and multiplicity that actively writes reality into existence. We can view this as an ontological continuum. We move from the invariant, extensive focus of reductive science, through the emergent limits of intensive science, to the infinite, expressive horizon of virtual philosophy. All three are materialist, but they partition reality based on their capacity to process the intensive. Our definition of materiality dictates our worldview. First, matter is multiplicitous, changing based on how we measure it. Second, we must avoid disciplinary hegemony. Physics is not the universal key for all biology or social systems. Finally, philosophy remains necessary. It is the tool we use to conceptualize the infinite forces that precede physical organization. Ultimately, the ontology of matter exists in the tension between the measurable and the infinite. From the mass we can touch to the virtual forces we can only conceptualize, matter remains the ground of all being.